I want to bring you over here. This is the last thing I wanted to run through here. Yes, I know this is Peter Schiff's site, and I already went over this. Peter Schiff gave us a heads up on the 2000 tech collapse, housing collapse, 2007, 2008 financial crisis. He's been right about a lot of things. He's been wrong about a lot of things. A lot of commentators have been right, a lot have been wrong. They've all been wrong and right. I almost nailed the predictions on the silver and gold prices back in 2010, 11. All my videos are up. Integrity's there, unlike a lot of these other YouTubers in the precious metal community. All their videos have disappeared. Most of mine, I'd say 98% of mine are up. I'm not going to lie and say 100% of them are there. I took a few down for different reasons, but 98% of my videos I've ever made, there's 530 or whatever, are up there. You can go look at the old ones. I made some great calls, but that's not what this channel was about. It's kind of changed over time. It's about wealth preservation. I'm worried about a dollar collapse, which now I'm sure plenty of people are laughing at me. Fine. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it isn't going to happen. That's... So I want to run through this here real quick. Texas Gold Depository could challenge federal power. I guess a lot of conspiracy theorists running the state of Texas. Happy 50th birthday to Junk Silver. You know, this kind of turns things on its head. Junk Silver is the funniest name because the junk is actually the crap we use nowadays. This is real money, but it's called Junk Silver. So 50 years have gone by since they took real money away from the people. So a lot of people, they don't know what real money is. And that's part of the problem that we're having. Gold hasn't lost any value. The dollar has just strengthened. This, I think, is the most important thing to understand right now as you're trying to just figure out what's going on. There's a lot of noise happening right now in the economy, in the precious metals. I wanted to play a tiny bit of this. I'm not going to play the whole thing. I could put a link of this in the more info section, but I wanted to play a tiny bit of this real quick here.
In reality, when you look at that commercial back in 2009, gold is pretty much flat since that commercial played. What does that say to you, Jim?
Well, when you say gold has lost, X percent, 70% of its value, to me, gold hasn't lost any value. What's happened is the dollar has gotten stronger. So if the dollar is the measure of all value, yes, gold's down a lot. But if you change what they call the numerator, make gold the measure of value and say what's really going on.
In reality, when you look at that commercial back in 2009, gold is pretty much flat since that commercial played. What does that say to you, Jim?
Well, when you say gold has lost, X percent, 70% of its value, to me, gold hasn't lost any value. What's happened is the dollar has gotten stronger. So if the dollar is the measure of all value, yes, gold's down a lot. But if you change what they call the numerator, make gold the measure of value and say what's really going on. A dollar used to get you a 1/1400th of an ounce. Today it gets you an 1100th of an ounce. Sometimes you get more gold for your dollar. So this is really a strong dollar story. If you look at iron, wheat, aluminum, copper, commodities around the world, they're all down. Look at currencies, Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, Brazil, they're all down. So what we really have is a global dollar story with King Dollar, but there's a problem with that. A strong dollar is deflationary. The Fed wants inflation. So how on earth can Janet Yellen raise interest rates when she's got a deflationary crisis around the world?
All right, but, all of these commercials say, get into gold, and then you look at other things that, the way you set it up is just a dollar story, but stocks would have obviously clobbered gold since then. So there were much better alternatives. It's not just about stocks.
Well, I'm not a gold dealer, Joe. I'm an analyst, but actually, I also have a chart up here.
I'm not a gold dealer.
If you put that chart up again, what you'll see is there's a buy signal there.
That was Joe's chart.
Right. Sorry. That chart is actually a buy signal. Last time gold was this low relative to the S&P, it was a great time to buy.
Jim, David, I want to bring up that chart we had earlier, which was showing the inverted U.S. dollar versus gold. And gold's decline has actually been much more steep than the dollar, which says to me, it is not just the dollar that's moving gold. What would you say?
I think it's
I mean, I think there's something much more to it
It's
than that.
not
It's really
just the dollar,
whether
but that's
you
a big
expect
part
real
of it.
returns on capital to be positive or whether you expect them to be negative. If you think that everybody's taking risk now and going out and buying Tesla stock and buying some biotech company and buying a communications company, and those are going to generate real returns on capital, technological advance and innovation, and all the things that Joe was talking about, then stocks are going to be a better investment than gold. Gold is a zero real return investment. It protects you from inflation. There's no innovation in gold. There's a gold necklace on your neck right now that looks exactly the same as it would look on Cleopatra 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 years ago or whenever it was. It's just no innovation. If you believe in innovation, then stocks are a far better trade. If you believe we're going to be in the 70s and all real returns on capital are going to be negative, that means adjusted for inflation returns, then gold's a great trade.
So, Jim, do you not believe in innovation?
I love innovation. I think innovation is great. The problem is
Great question.
I love innovation. I don't necessarily believe in the dollar. And everything David said is measured in dollars. If the dollar collapses, then your wealth goes away. So I think innovation is fantastic. But the problem is what's the best way to preserve wealth? So you're innovative. You make money. What's the best way to preserve it? You don't want to end up like those people in Greece lined up at the ATMs. It happened to Cyprus. It happened to Greece. It can happen here.
All right, but, you know, the gold people have been saying, oh, the Fed is printing money and debasement and hyperinflation and dollar collapse and all that. At what point do you say, oh, actually, none of those things
Well, you have two very powerful forces at once. You have natural forces of deflation, which are demographic, technological, and also debt and deleveraging. Then you have natural forces of inflation, which is policy, money printing, quantitative easing, currency wars, Operation Twist, etc. They're pushing against each other like tectonic plates. If you look at the time series of prices, it looks kind of close to zero, but it's actually an unstable equilibrium. It's going to snap. Now, it could go either way. David said gold's good inflation, now deflation. That's not correct. The longest period of sustained deflation in American history, 1929 to 1933, gold went up 75%.
David.
It was a time as well where where money was linked to gold, where the dollar was linked to gold. So you can't compare a gold standard period to a non-gold.
It wasn't like President Roosevelt broke the link. It was linked to $20, then it went to $35. That's a 75% increase. So it wasn't linked to gold.
And at the end of the day, people still had to pay back all of their debts in dollars that were originally originally marked in gold. And
but that's why the president wanted inflation, so you could afford to pay your debts. Now the problem is right now we've got deflation and no gold standard.
And then also,
so how are we going to pay the debts?
Then ultimately there was a lot of inflation, which sent the gold price screaming higher.
No, that's not what sent the gold price
at the end of the 1930s.
What sent the gold price screaming higher was President Roosevelt said it's going to be. He laid in bed in his pajamas, told the Secretary of the Treasury, Henry Morgenthau, to go buy it, bid it up 7 cents an ounce because it was his lucky number. It wasn't inflation. It was fiat by the government. The point is,
but that is ultimately an inflationary phenomenon. A monetary printing exercise isn't a reflationary or an inflationary phenomenon, which sends you to gold.
The government raised the price of gold to get everything. Nothing happens in isolation. The president raised the price of gold because he wanted iron and wheat and cotton. He wanted everything. He wanted the inflation. They were desperate for inflation. We're getting to that point. We're in a very deflationary world. When the government becomes sufficiently desperate for inflation, there's always one way to get it, which is for the government to raise the price of gold. We might get to inflation the old-fashioned way, with loss of confidence and velocity based on all the money that's printed. But if we don't, we'll get there the other way, which is just to revalue gold.
I think if we look at periods of very sustained aggressive money growth that have created significant amounts of inflation, not the one we just went through, but the 70s or the late 30s, those are periods where gold is also
it's not money growth. Money growth is like a ham and cheese sandwich. Money growth is the ham. You need the cheese. That's velocity. We don't have the velocity right now. That's psychological.
I can't let you go, though, without finding out what your gold price target is, Jim.
Well, look, at the end of the day, it's going to be $5,000, $7,000 an ounce or higher, but it could go $950 in the meantime. The reason I say that, I was talking to Jim Rogers. He said nothing has gone from 200 to 5,000 without a 50% retracement along the way. So if you take 1,900 as a peak, 950 is a 50% retracement. It could go there and then go back up.
Did you bring us gifts?
I did. You know, one of the pieces we wrote in early 13.
All right, I don't care about his gifts. Sorry, I played a little more of that than I was going to, but that's about it for now. I tried to give you my best assessment of what's going on. I'm looking to get a little gold. I would buy it now. I made a little purchase when it was probably $1,300. I just continue to buy. I didn't buy gold over maybe $1,500. I didn't even buy much in the $1,400 range. Now that we're getting lower, I like the price. I mean, this is a long-term thing for me. The dollar could collapse 10 years from now. I don't know, but I'm going to preserve what I have. I'm not going to try and time it.